Good morning, everyone. We're getting ready to go live here for our session. So we want to thank everybody joining us on YouTube Live. Sort of letting folks into the room this morning. We certainly appreciate you taking time to come and chit chat with us. I'm going to go over a couple of different items today as we go and teach a little bit about BARD and talk more about capability statements. Start letting everybody into the room now. As someone pointed out, we actually had the wrong date on the click through. I was so sorry about that. This is now going to be a weekly session for us. And so we want to make sure that you show up every morning, Wednesday at 10 a.m. So we'll lose the dates so that this doesn't happen again. Sometimes I can get going and get excited and we play. But one thing I do ask when we come into the room, you can maintain your mute status as long as you can. If you have a question, this is meant to be interactive, so feel free to unmute yourself at that time and ask any questions that you like. My name is Mark, and I'm one of the founders of GovDirections, and we're certainly glad you came today. And we also, I think, have Dale in the room with us today, and others may join us as the morning goes by. We'll spend about 20, 30 minutes talking with you about topics. If you have a topic that you want me to share with you, feel free to do so, and I will try to spend some time on that. The couple of topics that we wanted to talk about today was, of course, always, with the bids, the RFPs that are out there, kind of run through a couple of those on the RFP delivery, give you some tips on how to make sure you're searching and pinpointing capability statements. And we're going to flip through some of the new ones we got in. There's some host of new ones that folks have been sending us in a way to network and for you to expand out. If you don't have that capability statement, we have folks who can assist you with that, or you can maybe communicate with each other to allow that discussion to occur. As you know, if you come into, all of you are coming in this morning and basically with a first name, last name, and your name of your company usually, and your title. It was always helpful. Always feel free to drop in some comments about your company. If some of you may be subcontracting with each other, you want to follow along on the capability statements, I'm going to put the actual link in here. It's a slideshow on Google, so you can in a Google Drive, so you can have access to it. And so let me open up that chat box. There we go, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing about your company here. And Tony, there we go. The link here. Let me get that link real quick, and I'm going to drop it in. Anybody who wants to join online can do so. This is going to be the standard classroom type of an environment. If there's interruptions, we'll always come back straight here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And we will spend today about 30 minutes. This is live on YouTube. We have an audience there as well. Unfortunately, I'm not able to monitor the chat on YouTube live, but feel free to come to the Zoom session. It's also the link in there. Unfortunately, I had the wrong date. It's not May 10th, it's May 17th, of course. And then next week, it'll be it's May 24th, I think. Yeah, as we head into a long Memorial Day weekend. So we're excited. This is, a happening time with government contracting. This is the largest spending period in American history. And I know a lot of us are a little concerned about what's happening at the federal level. If there is a shutdown, how that's going to impact us. We saw that happen a few years back, and it did catch a lot of government contractors off guard. So hopefully some of you who have those federal contracts are prepared for that. That could be a potential disruption of major for small businesses, but it's not necessarily that they're not good for it. It's that hopefully, but it's more of the department slowing down, not being able to be responsive as they need to be, and the contracts that are outstanding, and making sure they can honor those obligations. Politics, we try to stay out of the political aspects of things, but it does impact the actual procurement, and so we do have to monitor that. We tend to focus on once that contract is actually decided upon, and once the appropriation has happened, then we focus in on that. But whenever they have these debates and shutdowns, that can potentially impact those, and specifically defaults. Defaults are That's not a good situation. So hopefully they punt that and kick that to another time and keep everything going on these contracts. In addition, we want to also talk about, BARD. Yesterday, we went in and I did a presentation on BARD and how to work with it and use RFP. This BARD is the new Google experiment that's come out to allow you to use artificial intelligence to help you out. And then some of us is like, I've heard people say, this could actually just replace all of our jobs. That's not necessarily a good thing. I tend to think of it a little bit different. It's almost like when the calculator, first came around and we started doing our computers and we started doing calculations, and we don't have to do some of those, basically open math up to everyone, and allows us to come in and do some very quick, very thorough analysis, and so we're seeing this kind of the same thing with artificial intelligence, allowing you to write a very sophisticated documents, reference them, and so forth. And so your kids may be out there using it already for school. I hear a lot of students are using it to actually write term papers, things like that. So I'm going to share with you how you can actually put it to good business use today. And there's all other methods out there. I found BARD to be easier to use and understand at my age group, but there's also ChatGPT 4, I believe it is, and other methods that you can use to really speed up your process. One of the number one complaints we get is like, I didn't have enough time to respond to it, to write an RFP response. And so this can actually help out, when it learns you and gets to know how you're responding and gives you those draft documents that, and then allows you to save some of that very basic time constraints that you find yourself in. But first, this morning, I did want to, remind everyone, as you're at RFP delivery, you can go in and use the mapping system to really see where activities or new contracts are appearing all over the world. Of course, we're expanding our global presence, and we have bids and RFPs coming in primarily at military bases, but still some larger contracts and industries that we know our main customer base here in the United States can potentially serve in a global capacity. And so don't be afraid of those, and don't be concerned about those too much. If you see something, go after it. It's meant to be a little bit hard trying to understand international procurement, but it's not that difficult. And if you've got a product or supply, a service that you can offer in an international basis, then you potentially should pursue that. But our primary focus are those 48,000 active RFPs in the United States. Always know when you come in here, you can drill in there and see those and very quickly click through. And you can go in through your industry settings and look at some of the items that are by industry. We serve 192 industries there, and you can zero in on those. Recruitment and staffing is a big industry right now. And so I thought I'd spend a little bit of time just talking about those types of bids. And so you can see those there, specifically those temporary staffing. Governments are having a hard time staffing up in particular areas. So you're seeing this one really expand its presence in the contracting world. So go out there and take a look at some of those. Each of those, when you click through and you see the actual bid, there's one for temporary staffing there in Georgia. Then you always know this is for a county school district down there in Macon. You're able to go in and quickly save these bids and capture it. The terminology of capturing a bid, meaning this is something I'm really interested in, and I'm going to pursue it, and I don't want to lose it. So there, and it's always stored in your save folder. But then leaving and going always to the original source to actually bid on this contract. And so these are very straightforward systems, easy to use, understand, and we're hoping you use it at the best of your ability there. Knowing that you can come in your home account and go in there and actually do some filters to make sure you don't miss something. So if I was looking at temporary staffing, notice that word is actually misspelled there. That's not good. That's twice today we found a spelling or minor issue like that. That can throw off. So we have to capture that. The staff that's on this call can help us with that. So if I can go in and I can use some keywords like staffing or use that conjunction, that's referred to as Boolean search technique, coming in and expansive for the term OR. And then I can look at maybe executive, maybe and words, executive recruitment. So that would mean it has to have these two words, okay? And you can also go in and use the negatives. So, and not a police, so I'm not looking for police executive staffing. So you can actually doing a very elaborate search string and then search and get more precise you get, the less likely you will have results, but then you can save that word search to the one that you like. You can always just pull it right back up very quickly. Especially what happens there is it then appears in your home tab in your dashboard. And I find this the best one to actually use when I'm on the site. It gives you instant access to all the listings. We're adding about 2 to 3 bids a minute. So it's a tool that you want to use throughout the day. Sometimes before I leave in the afternoon about 5 o'clock, I'll go in and just check it out just to make sure there's nothing there as an urgent deadline, for example. But my save searchers are here. Then I could come back in and I ran that. And here's what I'm doing for a client here: trucking, transportation, and freight, but not dairy. And I apply that one to see if there's anything this morning. And then I'm able to tag it and go out there and look. There is a container freight bid right there. So I want to go in there and read that, learn a little bit about it. And this is a request for quote, so it's a quick one. Okay, due May 22nd, and leaving here, going to the original source. And someone's asking a question about federal fines versus city state searches. You can go in and you can do, and this is sometimes gets a little confusing, but whenever you do your search, you can do some sorts, and one of the sorts is type, and this is basically state or local or federal. Okay, and so you can come in and you can sort them by that group, and then you can rearrange them as you sort. So you can just see the state and local, or just see the federal. But we do mark them by state and local, and starting out with subcontracts, but state and local first, and then federal next. And once you run your query, then you can organize them. Okay. Always know that your filters over here also give you that way. So if I was looking for those staffing contracts, I would come in under consulting, recruitment, and staffing. There, let's see here, I jumped ahead, and there. And then if I wanted to limit by state, I could, or even more precise, by set aside. The set asides are at the federal level based on NAICS codes, but give you that global filter first when I apply it, and then I can actually use the sort there at the same time. Save the filter. It applies it at the exact same time, and then it's recorded in my settings, my dashboard. And so here you'd also be able to go in there and very quickly see where they're at geographically, and you can zero in and pinpoint them, the ones that you really are looking for. And if I went back to my main dashboard, then I can actually see those filters stored. And over here on the top file as it comes up, it's going to allow me to pull those up very quickly and then go in and apply that. Here's that one I just ran and saved. The other ones I've saved here. Here's a client that we have for transport logistics. Let me just see that one real quick while we're here. Go in, pull it. It's going to show me most recent first, one now for athletics, moving storage services, container freight. So each of those by last issued first. Okay. So you once you drill down, you'll get to know this, and it gets to know you. And the ones you were interested in, you'll step in and take a look at that, and then potentially save that. This one's for the Tennessee Board of Regents for charter bus services. If you do athletics, always saving that, going back to it. So these are some useful tips to actually go in and actually save and find and search those bids, knowing that your daily alerts will come to you based on your preset settings. And here you can go to your daily alert and see those bids matching you. That should be in your daily email right now, looking and feeling like your Gmail or your Outlook. If it's not there, make sure it's not in your spam folder. It should be there, but still stored online. So you can always just pull it up online as well for those who are just overwhelmed with emails nowadays. And so you come in, and I hope to announce this time next week, we got a new app you can download. So we'll see about that. And then it's going to be a handheld. That's going to give you a screen that's going to show you alert as it's issued, as it imagines you throughout the day. So it's instantaneous for you. In your settings there, you also will drive those with your location preferences, but also whether or not you want your daily alert. You can turn it off and on there. In your home, you're always getting back to your home. You can click Member Dashboard there. Anytime you see the human image, you can come back to the main screen and then run those pretty quickly and have those available to you. Okay. One question is that, can you find past contracts that have been awarded? Yes, you can. Just click here, award notices, and then search. Apply that filter, In addition, we do pepper those throughout your the ones that you are looking for. These are the most recent 30 days. And if you have an interest in over that longer period of time, you can contact us. We have over 5 million records, and we frequently produce reports for clients who show all the active listings that we have had in the past. In fact, I think, let me just see real quick here. I might have one that we've done recently for a client that I can share with you, give you an example how that works. This is really good data because it allows you to know where where bids have been happening, and gives you a good indication of what's happening in the past for your products that you have. Okay, so this one here is actually for shipping bids. So bounce off the site here, and we'll show you all the listings that have occurred with winning data and so forth. This is beyond the 30-day period. But just reach out to us with this, and this is a pricing research type product. We actually teach you how to do it yourself, but we also do it for you. And also know that, USAspending.gov is the world's largest database. It's a great source for that kind of data, and you can go in there. It's all award data, okay, for you to go in and use. Okay? And therefore, we teach classes on how to actually work that. And I mentioned last week, we're going to do that in the near future. Cynthia and I will do it today. She can't be with us, so we'll schedule that in the near future for you to come back and visit with us. Okay. Going back to our main page here, one thing I mentioned in the email is also classes that are coming up in terms of industry days. So you want to watch for those constantly. These are matchmaking sessions. Oftentimes, that's when you actually go in and you're actually shaking the hands and introducing yourself to government contractors, contracting officers, and also some potentially places where you can actually go in, subcontract with each other and meet each other. So make sure you're aware that you watch those. Here are a couple of them coming up. For example, an industry day here for the Army Contracting Command. There's the Defense Intelligence Agency. Some of these will be online, like this class here. Other times it's you go in person and you actually it's a whole full day where you're meeting officers, and they're sometimes have pocket contracts, meaning that they can actually strike a deal with you on the spot. And so that's typically for real small businesses and to help them. Here's a virtual industry day for the Infrastructure Security Division. And when you click through these, knowing that data is available, this is assisted contracting activity, and explain to you, always going through to the original location and then learning how to log in for that. This is coming in. That looks like it's actually already happened, and they've kept it on there so you can go back and watch the video. So it's April 28th in April. Okay. Sometimes that happens. They keep it out there for a while, and you can go in there and watch that YouTube channel and see that. Okay. And so they had that happen. And this one might be one that they actually do every so often and repeat. And they keep the expiration out there for a little bit longer so you can watch it just in case you missed the live session itself. Okay. And knowing that that's there. Some others, also business forecasts. I think that's always a good one to watch. These are all special notices. And when you come in there, this is when they give you an indication of what they're buying in the near future. So you can get in there and practice more traditional business development, knowing what their activity or plans are. And so don't just bypass this. This is the Millennial Challenge Corporation, the big spender in advanced innovative type products. So services, so you go in there and you watch that. And in particular, they have a doc there. I've actually looked through this one. This is a good one. And they have a forecast of what they're going to be spending money on in the coming year. So you can get in there and send them your capability statement and have that ready to go. Speaking of which, I wanted to show some of the newer capability statements that we've seen this week, and I have them here online. Let's see here. There we go. And you'll see that everyone's really shining. If you have some, send them to me. We'll get them out there. This one here, one we had last week for the trucking. And you see this is asset tracer. Let me, maybe I can span just a little bit there, but you're seeing, the same common themes, the core competencies, the company overview, differentiators, making sure it really stands out to the government itself, using color and appropriate imaging, okay, safety training. Not all of these, of course, are done by our staff, but these are ones you're sending us, and we continue to highlight those. If you don't have one, then there's a tab that you can actually look through and potentially see about getting some assistance with that. We have basic services with our Gov Advice, our micro consulting from just a typical someone answering questions about capability statements, or even spending a full hour with you to help you do it yourself a little bit better. And then even doing the capability statement, having the graphic designer, Jessica, does that for us, and she lays that out for you.
Bev?
I'm going to make sure you maintain that mute unless you have a question, and we can come on. You can also type the question in the text box, and I'll try to answer some of those. Here you can see everybody's doing a great job with these. This one here I thought was just a great one that really stands out. You can really find where the differentiators at, the NAICS codes, industry served, the core competencies. But that graphic itself, I think, really helps that company shine. Okay, here we go. And straightforward, and know sometimes that, what my technologists always remind me that they're looking for the text. Now, remember that, and not just the graphics, but the government's looking for those NAICS codes. They're looking for you to explain your company and what you're really seeking to do, and also your core competencies. Also, how they're using the images for the certifications, making sure you have. That's the primary goal of these capability statements. When you're ready, if you're not doing this, you need these as a way to get your foot in the door, primarily for those industry days. There's requests for information, requests for qualifications, requests for sources sought. Okay, those are the primary objectives for your capability statement. At the federal level, some of the departments will require that. And state and local level is more voluntary, where you're providing it. So that's why you don't see a lot of these with the NIGP commodity codes and others. But on mine, I do focus in on state and local government sector, and I actually use it for when I go in and actually do a pitch as well. And I lay down the pitch, and this document is the placard, the place setting for them to really kind of visualize and use, as opposed to my RFP document that it was there. I'll have that RFP document, but I really want them learning about me at that point. They've already ran through the document itself, and they've looked at it. And so I want to brand myself and image appropriately as we try to win business. And this is my typical contracting field. So these capability statements, I leave this slideshow for you constantly, so folks can come in. You see a number of you in the room right now. You can use these examples, folks, and also contract with each other. So if you see somebody here, you want to. Everybody here is looking to network and engage, and so it's good for you to reach out to them in order to pursue joint businesses. Oftentimes you'll find in an average RFP that you're going to need some assistance. Speaking of which, when you look at RFP, I actually did a class yesterday, and we focused in on BARD. And so BARD is, of course, one of the artificial intelligence methods that allows you to expand your capabilities, I guess, in some ways, and how you write things, and how you respond, and how you do research. And it's just mind blowing. Somebody described, I think yesterday there was a hearing, and it basically said this is a major moment in human history it's coming forward, almost like the printing press when it was invented. And I thought that was a profound statement. And of course, it was by the inventor of some of this technology. So of course, they're going to sell a little bit more, but it's still a great tool, and it's a way for us to save a lot of time. And I want to show you, I'm developing some prompts that I'm also going to share with you, that you can come back and add to it if you need to. Okay. And use it to help prompt BARD to give you some instructions. Okay. That's the goal of it, and only available right now in this class. Okay. I'm not going to spread this just yet. Okay. Somebody's asking about templates for the capability statement. Yes, we do have some templates. If you reach out to us, we'll share that with you. We also use an intake form that allows you, when we do it for you, it governs your thoughts and pulls your thoughts together in an organized way, so you can get a very quick capability statement done there. And if anybody does have an interest in using us, you can use the code SAVE25, altogether caps SAVE25. It'll discount any rate for our capability statement by 25%. Okay, to help you out in this process. You have to kind of come to this grouping here to get that note. But this document here, I'm going to continue to expand. But just remember, when you do prompts on BARD, specifically related to government contracting, okay, you need to be conversational. Okay, and so I'm trying to develop conversational questions that you might use in order to expand your ability to respond to an RFP or to research related to it, okay? And we're going to continue to advance our own use of it and allow it to have access to our 5 million plus records. As I showed you earlier, for those samples, that's just only one industry for 1 year, okay? So we've been doing this since 2006 in our current database. So we've got a lot of data that's, and we even archived it in 2012. So we've even done probably close to 10 million records at the end of the day that we want to have indexed and give you some good solid data that's going to allow you to use in a very sophisticated way in the future to do your own research. So I know that all our members will have access to that, and we're continuing to expand as quickly as we can gain the technical knowledge. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. I'm a big believer in, first of all, experiential learning. You hear that all the time. To try it out, find out what you know, and then focus on some of the things you don't know. But I'm also never concerned too much. One day the biggest fear is you wake up and everything is done that you have thought you could do for as a service or supply, and it's gone. I haven't ever found that to be the case. In fact, I remember back when we started governmentbids.com, and I was meeting with someone, and we were acquiring another company at the time, and the guy was in his company said, you know what, in 2 or 3 years you're going to be out, and my product's going to be there for another 10 years. Well, truth of the matter is, we're still around 24 years later, and that product disappeared about 16 years ago. So you never know which way you're headed, and all of us have to be, we have to be aware of that, and as technology advances. But here with Bard, remember that you're supposed to be conversational, and that's some of the hardest things. So you're talking to it, or you ask any question, almost like the kind of question you might ask to somebody into the grocery store. You come up, you meet them, you haven't seen them in a long time, and you ask just a basic conversation question. That's the way you want to approach it. So I started a couple of them. So give me 10 statements to make my company stand out in a response to a request for proposal. Help me out a little bit, Bard. And so I'll go to bard.google.com. This is their chart. As I mentioned, it's still experimental, so it's continuing to learn. Okay. And we're going to ask Bard to do that for us. And end it with a period. Run that, and Bard's will come back and give me some statements that I might want to use. Here we go. Highlight your unique selling points. Tailor your proposal. Oh my goodness, they just replaced my class. Excuse me. No, that really doesn't. We still need human involvement. Okay. Be clear and concise. Use strong visuals. Proofread your proposal carefully. And you would think some of these things would just be, we all know these, but a lot of us are brand new. Okay. And we need some of these tutorials to really help us. And so you get focused in on that. I like the one, number 8 there, be patient. And then my all-time favorite, number 9, don't give up. Okay. And then at the end, be positive. That's an important one. Okay. So it gave me some basics here. So let's get a little bit more precise. So here's an actual response I have on my Google Drive. That maybe I downloaded the RFP. I put it into the drive. I've got a link for it. Okay. And a document, and maybe I even have a URL for it, okay, that I can go. And so here, I'll drop that in. So prepare me a response. I'm going to give it a big global challenge, okay? And Bard's there. I'm not sure if Bard, I guess we'll speak to it in universal terms. Thanks. So they gave us a response. Sure, I can help you prepare a response to this RFP. Here are the steps involved. Read the RFP carefully. I think that's the number one thing. I'll give you some tips. Identify your strengths and weaknesses, tailor your response, okay? Be clear, concise, ABCs, accuracy, brevity, clarity, remember those, okay? Here's a sample, okay? Introduction, our approach. So, it may not fit. So this one here was a website design RFP that I sent them to, and it may not be exact fit, but it gives me a good outline to go from. And, the hardest thing to do sometimes is take a blank sheet of paper and get something written down on it. And get started. So this right here just helped me get started. Saved me probably sometimes hours of times, and I get frustrated because I don't know quite where to start, and so it really is a valuable tool. And speaking of pricing, see if you got the pricing there. So maybe you want to ask it, go out and do some more research. Maybe in my Google Drive, I've got a folder, and we do have these type of information on who's winning and who's won. So I'm going to say, what is the average award for governmental janitorial contracts? It's just big global, and get specific as you want. say just Georgia, for example, or in fact, I'll do that afterwards. See what happens. Governmental general word for Georgia governmental contract. So here there's an average study of general control contracts, varies depending on the size of the contract. However, accountability office gave me a average award is 1.2 million, okay, in 2021. So we may have to factor that up, or we may have to go back and say, I want 2023 prices. The level of service and details, look at that, all that research that I thought I was going to have to do. I spent hours and hours and hours of time. Let me go back and say, I haven't tried this one yet. I'm gonna experiment with this together. What is the average for general contracts published at usaspending.com? Let's just see what happens. I think I'm gonna spend all day on this. Let's look at there. Giving me what about that, Dave? That's just, I bet you can get very precise in that conversation. So aren't you all impressed with that? That just is something else. I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens with it as we grow along. And so with that said, we're at the 10:30 mark, and I told you 30 minutes. So how about questions? Any questions today? Anything anybody want to chat about? I do appreciate you coming this morning and spending some time with us. Everybody have a great Wednesday.